Ta-da! Welcome! Welcome all. And here, this is the second surprise that I promised you, because I am extremely grateful to all the viewers and all the subscribers and to the ones who are watching my video who are yet to subscribe. To everyone, welcome to my channel One Stop All Poetry Solution. And this is another video that I am adding to this channel in succession, right? And it is because that thank you all, because we have crossed the 50 mark subscription and we are nearing our goal of the 100 mark, after which there's a huge surprise awaiting for you people. And this is the second video, the poem "O Captain, My Captain" by Walt Whitman, that I'm going to share with all of you. All right, this poem "O Captain, My Captain" is a part of the larger collection by Walt Whitman titled "The Leaves of Grass." This was an elegy which was published in 1865, 7 months after the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Once you read this poem, you will understand the literal story that is narrated through the poem. So you have to read the poem on two levels. One is the literal level, that is the way you are reading it very plainly, and another is reading between the lines. Okay, so I hope you will not face much confusion and doubts and what this poem is trying to tell and all these things, as I will start and explain the poem very simply, and you can write some excellent answers for your exam. Alright, so let's start. Okay, let's not waste some time. I was searching for some like figures of speech or something that I might have included here. So okay, first let's start with the poem, then we can discuss about the figures of speech. "O Captain, my Captain, our fearful trip is done. The ship has weathered every rack, the prize we sought is won. The port is near, the bells are here, the people all exulting, while follow eyes the steady keel, the vessel grim and daring." So here, Captain, okay fine, first let me tell you the plain or the simple meaning. Okay, the speaker is a crewman on a ship. He communicates to his captain about the completion and the success of the difficult trip. They are nearing the port where the crowd is waiting to welcome them and celebrate their return. Okay, so this is the basic story. Now, on the metaphorical level, if you start reading the poem between the lines, you will see that the captain here refers to Abraham Lincoln, and my captain. See, first he starts with "O Captain," it is an address, and "my captain." This hints at the close, intimate, personal relationship that the speaker or the crewman has with Lincoln. Here, the fearful trip that has been successfully completed refers to the Civil War. The ship, here the ship refers to America, has weathered, means suffered or undergone every rack, all kinds of difficulties. The prize we sought is won. So the quest for the union of the American people, that is the quest, that is won. So the union, the final result of the union, that is the prize which we were seeking, that is won. The port, which refers to home, is near. So it is time that everything, all the matters should end. It should stop. It should be peaceful. The bells I hear. So the bells of the holy places is heard by the speaker. The people all exulting. The people are enthusiastic because such a great thing has been achieved. The bells are ringing in happiness. The people are all enthusiastic to welcome the hero. While follow eyes the steady keel. So the person or the keel here refers to the part of the ship that keeps the ship stable. So the person or the persons who were involved in keeping the ship steady, they are all looking for that person because they have now neared the home. Basically the control of the ship lies in the hands of the captain, isn't it? So here basically they are, all the people of the country, the countrymen are looking out, enthusiastic, eager. Their eyes are following to see this person. Who is this person? Abraham Lincoln. Okay. But, oh heart, 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 oh the bleeding drops of red, where on the deck my captain lies, fallen cold and dead. So immediately this grim and the daring thing, this vessel when it is entering, so immediately the moment of enthusiasm is twisted into something that is grim and serious. And where does this enthusiasm go? This enthusiasm is replaced by the gloom, because the captain is dead. The poet in these lines goes into a sort of reminiscence and tries to consider the death of Abraham Lincoln, the poet or the speaker, whichever you are considering, his death to be a fancy. But at last he has to believe. There is no other way but to accept the fact and not remain in denial that the captain is dead. The speaker or the poet calls him father, as you will see later also, that he is being addressed father. And he emerges as someone who is truly a person who plays an important role, a father figure. This is very clearly explained in the third stanza. You will understand this very clearly. Okay, so now what do we see here? That the blood is oozing out from the captain's body. Because if you remember your history, you will note that Abraham Lincoln was shot. So basically, he was bleeding. The captain, the control of the ship was in whose hands? Lincoln's hand. And the captain himself is dead. So whom do we turn to? Whom do we now place next in control? So what will happen to us? You are at a loss, right? That is the person you look up to when in crisis, the captain. It ultimately depends upon him. Like now, if you compare it to the present situation, all the countrymen of all the countries, not only for India, for all the countries, everyone is looking up to the leaders, to what decision they are taking with respect to this COVID-19 crisis. With regard to, if you take in the case of India, the crisis that is there between our neighbors, between Pakistan and China, the crisis at the borders. We are all dependent upon the leaders there. If they fail, then where do we turn to? We are just nominal people, right? To reach up to that level, there's a long struggle, there's a long way. But tomorrow I can go and just have a talk with a delegate of the Chinese counterpart, right? That is what I'm trying to talk about. So we, in crisis, in need, or wherever it is, it has to be in someone's control. Whom do we look up to? We look up to the head of the state, the controller, one who steers the ship, one who guides us, the captain. Oh captain, my captain, rise up and hear the bells. In these lines, you will see that Whitman tries to talk to the captain who is dead. And this technique of talking to the dead person is known as apostrophe. This is the figure of speech that you must note here. This is something very unique. So the captain here is as if being spoken to by the poet or the speaker, and this figure of speech is known as apostrophe. Okay. Rise up, for you the flag is flung, for you the bugle trills. So here the speaker is telling that he's asking the captain to rise up, because for him, for Lincoln, the flag is being hoisted, the bugles are being played, that is not only bugles but the musical instrument, they are being played, bouquets, ribboned wreaths, they have all been brought. But these ceremonies turn out to be meaningless. The ceremonious welcome is now meaningless. Why? Because Abraham Lincoln is dead. He is lying in a pool of blood. All the people, for you the shores are crowding. So there has been a lot of arrangements. The people have come, then the flag is being hoisted, the bugles are being played, people have brought bouquets for you, ribbon wreaths have been brought, and now what is the result? He is lying dead. When the time came for honoring Abraham Lincoln, he passed away. He died. For you they call, the swaying mass their eager faces turning. So, for you here, you refers to captain. They are calling. The countrymen are looking forward. The countrymen are hailing Abraham Lincoln. They are swaying. They are the swaying mass. Here, swaying refers to moving. They are moved emotionally and physically. Emotionally, they may be moved for two reasons. First, because of the difficult task that they have completed successfully. And secondly, because Abraham Lincoln is dead. They have come to realize that, and now they are moved emotionally and physically, because they have come to pay their final tributes to him, to have a last look at him. That's why they are moving. So swaying has these meanings, you must keep in mind. Their eager faces turning, so they are looking here and there. They are looking over the faces, over the crowd, over the heads of the other people, to have a final look at him. Now the arrival and the presence of the crowd has changed to a funeral ceremony. This is something that I have written it down, because the enthusiasm is lost. They are walking with heavy steps. Here, Captain, dear father, this arm beneath your head, it is some dream that on the deck you have fallen cold and dead. So that is what has happened. The father figure, as he is reminiscing, the speaker or the poet is reminiscing, he is telling that you are lying in such a posture that as if you are going to wake up soon, but that is not going to be. It finally dawns on him that his death, his absence, is not a dream. It is not a dream, it is not a nightmare of the ship, or the shipmen, or the crewmen, or the countrymen. It is a reality. Abraham Lincoln has fallen cold and dead. He is dead. He is not going to rise up. This is a bitter reality that all has to accept. My captain does not answer. His lips are pale and still. So the reality sets in, and it is very clear in these lines. And the speaker says, the crewman realizes these words when they are telling that the damage is done. My father does not feel my arm. He has no pulse nor will. So the close bond, out of this close bond or these close feelings of affection, the speaker or the poet is telling that he does not feel my presence. He does not feel, for that matter, the presence of the countrymen, the hailing, the sadness that has gripped their hearts on his absence. He has no pulse nor will. He is dead. So his heart is not beating. And once his heart is not beating, where will that will force come from? Isn't it? The ship is anchored safe and sound. Its voyage closed and done. From fearful trip, the victor ship comes in with object won. So yes, the ship is anchored. It has now reached its harbor. It has landed safely. Its anchor has been thrown. There is no way by which the ship can waver and move into the wild sea or the ocean. Its voyage, that is, its undertaking of this challenge of the civil war, is done and closed. It is completed successfully. The objective of achieving the union of the people, that is also done. So fearful here basically refers to challenging. So everything is peaceful, everything is perfect. But where is the man who was behind all this? Abraham Lincoln, where is he? He is dead. He has been shot. He was assassinated. So he is no more there. One thing you will note here is that in actuality the ship's captain is not the speaker or the poet's biological father, but it is truly his respect and reverence for him that stands greater than his actual father. The sailor looks at the fallen comrade, the great person, the great captain, and as I said, that it was just a nightmare. He hoped that it was just a nightmare, and Lincoln would be alive with his will force, his guidance. He would guide the people, his countrymen. But that is not to be. The damage done is irreparable. The pulse has stopped. So we saw in the previous lines that the pulse has stopped. His face was drained of any color. His lips have turned pale. There is helplessness all around. And though the sailor reminisces about the trip to be extremely arduous, he tells, as we saw in the previous lines, that they had crossed the line with a trade-off. They were successful. So what do we see here in the concluding lines? The concluding lines of the poem explicate the fact. It tells us, it hints to the fact that the sailor has some bad news to share with the awaiting crowd. So their presence, the crowd's presence, when they have come to see the great captain, he tells that he has some bad news to share with them. He appeals directly to the loud jeers, cheers, ringing bells, flowers, bouquet, ribboned reeds. Okay. Again, he uses a synecdoche. What is a synecdoche? It is another figure of speech that is used here, representing a part of the larger picture. And the poem relates to the death of Abraham Lincoln. He feels uncomfortable because he himself is his heart is heavy. He needs to relay the bad news to the larger people, the larger audience, that the victory celebrations, for whatever they were prepared for, their enthusiasm has to come to a standstill, because the enthusiasm will now change into a mourning, because this is after all an elegy. It cannot end on a very happy note. It has to end on a sad note. The happiness, the jubilation that was present in the crowd slowly subsides, and it draws to the end of not only the jubilation, marks the end not only of the jubilation of the crowd, but also marks the end of an era of Abraham Lincoln. You will notice that Walt Whitman's poems emphasize the importance of self in most of his poems. He, because he was an American poet, he prizes and is proud of the American populace whom he believes to believe in themselves. And he uses these symbolic allusions in order to drive home a point, which in fact he does here also. There are a number of inanimate objects also he does, because this entire poem, the Civil War and this thing, if he had written on those lines, on the material facts that he had used, then it would not have been so interesting and he would not have been able to drive home that point. But he uses the inanimate objects like ship and deck to convey that, and that is how we remember it so clearly. Getting my point? Okay, now let's do a bit of your figure of speech that is there. Okay, then we'll draw a close to this poem too. So the primary figure of speech throughout that is present, that extended metaphor, the extended metaphor of the Civil War, which has been compared to the victory, the ship, which has been, America, which has been compared to ship, and captain is Abraham Lincoln, as I already told in the beginning of the poem. These are the primary figures of speech that has been used here. And he has also been, Abraham Lincoln has also been compared to the father. That is another figure of speech, father figure. That is a metaphor. Since there is no usage of the words like or as, you can safely tell them to be metaphors. Alright. And apostrophe is one of prominent ones that we saw in the previous stanzas, where Walt Whitman was trying to evoke or refer to him, and as if calling him out of his sleep, his eternal sleep, death. So addressing a dead person, that is also an apostrophe. Right. So these are the primary figures of speech that has been used here. If there are anything else, I will surely add on to them, anything very minor or anything. These are the big or the prominent ones that I have tried to convey. Right. So that's it. Go through the poem. I hope you will not face much confusion. If you have, please let me know in the comment section. Feel free. I will surely reply and try my best to solve your doubts and confusion. And once again, I would like to thank you. Please do like, share and subscribe to One Stop All Poetry Solution. And as you grow, we also grow along with you, because you are also our teachers in turn. Okay. So the viewers in fact are our real teachers. So thank you once again. Spread the message, spread love, spread learning, and you also learn happily. Till then, till we meet once again in the next time, until the next time, it's time to bid goodbye. Happy learning.